Good afternoon, Chair Merman and fellow members of the Education Committee. My name is Megan Hunt, M-E-G-A-N-H-U-N-T, and I'm here to introduce LB711. This bill addresses a disadvantage within our school finance statutes for high-growth school districts that need to open multiple new schools. I understand that Gretna and other rapidly growing school districts such as Elkhorn, OPS, and Bennington are encountering challenges meeting capacity needs to serve their growing student populations under the current formula. These districts are seeking this change under LB711 to make it easier to open multiple schools over multiple years and receive a break in the school finance formula. Currently, if a school district opens up one school, they receive a break for 2 years within the formula to get the school up and running at its full capacity. The intent of this bill is to make it so that if a district is opening more than one school at a time, they can count all of those schools together. My understanding is that right now, the district can only get credit within the formula for one school. Thus, this bill would change the language from school to schools and add clarifying language to make it clear that more than one building can be counted. When a school district opens up a new school, there are preliminary logistical challenges that can create some startup costs. The year prior to a school opening, a school district has to ramp up and hire teachers and administrators who understand the culture and climate of the school district to transfer to the new school. This leads to a year of overhiring. The first year a school is open, it's difficult to get the schoolroom sizes exactly correct. This again leads to some inefficiencies. Nebraska law currently acknowledges the costs associating with getting a new school running in that it allows school districts to apply for a 2-year new school adjustment. The first year, the new school adjustment equals the school district's basic funding per formula student multiplied by 20% of the approved estimated additional student capacity. The second year new school adjustment for each approved district equals the school district's basic funding per formula student multiplied by 10% of the approved estimated additional student capacity. This funding is outside of TIOSA. The problem is the formula does not take into account what happens if a school district opens 2 or more schools over a period of 2 years. The school district still has efficiency issues, but the first year of the new school and the year before the second new school opens, the funding goes down to 10% even though costs go up. For example, under the current law, school district opens a new school, 2 years later it opens another new school. The current formula would give the school 20%, 10%, 20%, and 10%. However, if a school district opens up 2 schools in 3 years, the formula would provide 20%, 10%, and 10%, so less money. The intent of this bill is to say when a school district opens up 2 schools in 3 years, then during the school year, the school district gets 20% of the estimated additional student capacity. The school would get 20%, 20%, and 10%. This helps to better account for the cost of opening the new school, which the original legislation was meant to address. I realize given the budget constraints, a bill like this could be difficult, but we must continue to find ways to lower property taxes, especially in a high-growth district, which have the highest property tax rates. There will be someone from Gretna Public Schools coming up, I believe, who will be happy to answer questions about how this situation is specifically affecting them. And I'm happy to work with the committee on improving this bill to make sure the intent and language match up. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Senator Hunt at this time? Senator Hughes.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this in. I guess the question is, I'm assuming Gretna came to you and asked you to bring that. Is that
That's
and then,
right.
Or did all 4 of those schools kind of?
All 4 of them would like the bill, but
Okay.
yeah, it was a representative from Gretna that
Okay.
approached
Thank
me
you.
originally. Yeah.
Any other questions, Senator Lineski?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this bill, Senator Hunt. Do you see this as occurring often?
I think it's occurring often enough that it's becoming a real problem, and it's going to continue to happen more often.
And we're really talking like Bennington and Gretna area, I assume?
Bennington, Gretna, Omaha, Elkhorn, these kind of high-growth districts, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll ask for proponents for LB711.
Chair Merman, members of the Education Committee. My name is Burke, B-U-R-K-E, Harr, H-A-R-R, and I am here on behalf of Gretna Public Schools. Senator Merman, I think it will be just proponent, singular, so we can get out of here early. First of all, I want to thank Senator Hunt for bringing this bill. This is a bill that, as Senator Lanowski pointed out, really only applies to fast-growing school districts, rapidly growing school districts, which is defined as a 3% growth over 3 or more years. So it doesn't affect everyone in the state, but those that does affect, it does affect, right? What we're trying to do today is, and the language doesn't necessarily match up perfectly, and that's my fault. I'll work with the committee on the language. What we're trying to do is to say, hey, these school districts are growing at a fast rate, and as a result, we or you, the legislature, had recognized that there's an additional cost. However, the intent of the legislature doesn't match with the reality of how TIOSA works. And so what we're trying to do is develop language that matches that intent, that says, hey, yeah, you're right, we should give money to these schools when you have more of a growth, with the intent. And so it works to a certain degree, but it doesn't work if you have more school districts. It also, that second year, there's an additional problem in that TIOSA, or that funding, is counted as a resource, so now it's within your TIOSA. And so there are some issues we have with how it was done. This language is new. It was a part of LB711, which happened before several members of this committee were here. We were trying to work on some amendments to change that. That bill was rather controversial. There were a lot of amendments for a lot of reasons. As a result, that amendment never got onto the bill. And so what we're trying to do is just to introduce a bill that gets that onto the bill so that we can treat all school districts the same, whether you're a fast-growing school district or a slow-growing school district, because the cost to that school district is the same. And as a result, when we don't do it the right way, the people who end up paying are the local property taxpayers. So that's what we're trying to do. And so I'd be willing to entertain any questions you may have. And I'd also say I'd sure like to have this part of a committee priority. Hey, buddy.
Any questions for Mr. Harr? If not, appreciate your testimony.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Can't give any assurances. So, any other proponents for LB711? Any opponents for LB711? Any neutral testifiers for LB711? Senator Hunt, you're welcome to close. And while she's coming up, online there are 5 proponents, 2 opponents, and 0 neutral.
Thank you, Chair Merman, and thanks again, everybody. I wanted to come up and give you the opportunity, if you had thought of a question, to share that with me. But I also wanted to note on the record that Norfolk Public Schools also submitted a position comment in support, saying that this bill would help them meet increased growth needs and add more space. So that's another school district that is behind this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Senator Hunt? Yes, Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Chairman. So if the language isn't, and I'm not as familiar with this little piece of the TIOSA formula, so I feel like I can't.
Well, I'm an expert, so I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, okay, great. But I mean, my question will be clearly to proceed with this is just to make sure we ratchet it down the language so that we know, like, it does exactly what the intent is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
So
are
I figured
totally
that was
same
the case,
page with that, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Let's solve the problem and no more. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing the
Thanks.
bill, Senator Hunt.